Alrighty, hello guys. We are going to go over our final draft, the formatting, and some examples of what our pages should look like when we turn it in. I want you guys to have it in video form so you can watch this as many times as you want, so you can pause it at certain moments and kind of match your page up to this video. Okay, so first things first, you need to open your rough draft so that you have your rough draft to either copy and paste or split your screen and type from your rough draft into your final draft. You now have rough draft and a final draft option on your Google Classroom. And you'll notice that there's a lot of attachments connected to this draft. So first things first, open up the Telltale Heart Google Doc, which is going to be blank because this is where you're going to write your final draft. So what I'm going to do right now is copy and paste our intro into the Google Doc so that we can format it and you can see exactly what I want your paper to look like. Minus a few paragraphs because I only have 1.5 paragraphs completed. Your guys' final draft should have 4 paragraphs to it. Okay, so this is a mess. This is not a final draft because it is a hot mess. There are things that are bold, underlined, different font sizes, different font types. So it needs to follow MLA format. If you have not had a lot of experience with MLA format, you will from this point on. MLA formatting is the citation association, I guess, that the high school will use. So every time you write an essay or a research paper in high school, which you will do a lot of, you're going to be using MLA format. There are different kinds of citations. You could have APA, MLA, Chicago. You will most likely, regardless of where you go to high school, use MLA format for the next 4 years, this year and the next 4 years. Once you leave high school, depending on what you decide to do, what your major is, if you go to college, you may need to use the other formats like Chicago and APA. For example, I majored in psychology in college. So I had to use APA formatting for all of my research papers, which is the American Psychological Association, is what that stands for. So I had to learn how to use an entirely new form of citation when I got to college because my major referred to a different one. Whereas MLA, if you go into anything historical, any like research-based history, that is going to be more MLA. Whereas if you go into sciences or any type of science, it's probably going to be more focused in APA. So lots of different ways to cite your evidence, prove where you get your information from. So we're going to take a look at MLA format, what that means, and how we can cite our papers and format our papers so that they follow the MLA formatting or the MLA guide. So first things first, we need to change our font type to Times New Roman. It is, you're probably going to have to scroll down here. It's not a familiar font on Google Docs for some reason. So you may have to scroll to find Times New Roman. But you are going to change the font to Times New Roman, and then you're going to change everything to font size 12. Another thing that I want you to do, if yours is bold, if you have any bold-faced words like I do or underlined words, I know some of us did this to theirs as well. I want you to fix it so it all looks the same. The way to do that is just click bold and then click bold again. And it'll make everything bold and then it'll unbold everything. And then do the same thing for underlined. It'll underline everything, click underline again, and it'll underline everything. Okay, another thing I noticed in our rough drafts is we did not have any indentation. So make sure you indent each of your paragraphs. So hit that tab button 4 times. You should have 4 different paragraphs at the end of this final draft. One thing that always happens when we type our final drafts is we want to put an extra space between this paragraph. Please do not. Your paragraph should be nice and close, just like this. They do not need a double space. Everything should be touching. No extra spaces between anything because we are going to double space the entire thing. Um, Times New Roman and 12-point font are both MLA formats or parts of the MLA format. So is double spaced. In order to be MLA compliant, we need to have our entire essay be double spaced. I recommend waiting until the end, waiting until you have everything typed on your final draft, and then highlighting your whole essay, and then going up here to line spacing and down to double. And that will double space it all. So notice between your last black sentence and the blue sentence, same amount of space as all the other lines. There should not be an extra space in between your paragraphs. It should look just like this. Also, make sure, this was one thing I noticed as I was grading your rough drafts, a ton of us, especially in paragraph 2, because you guys did it on your own, make sure you include the page number or the paragraph number of where this quote came from. You need to tell your reader exactly where they can go in the story or the book or the article and find that quote. That way they can fact check you. If they can't fact check you, then they're not going to believe you. So make sure you tell them exactly where they can go to find this information. So we know in the first paragraph, if you used this quote, we know that we can go to paragraph 2, scan paragraph 2, and we'll find that quote really quickly. Make sure you are also doing this in the exact same way for your red quote in paragraph 2 of the essay. A lot of us use a quote from the last page of the story. So if you put paragraph 2 here, put the last paragraph number as well. The story is still up under annotations on Google Classroom. So you can go there to access, I believe it was under last week. So you can go to the Telltale Heart annotations to access the story and see what page number something is on, or to see what paragraph something is in. But make sure you include those. That's part of MLA formatting. That is very, very, very important to include where you got your quotes from or where your information is coming from. And you're going to put it in parentheses just like this at the very end of your quote. So make sure it looks like that for both of your paragraphs. You are also going to need a title. So you're going to hit enter, click in front of your first word, and then hit enter. It should keep it tabbed for you. It should keep it indented. And your title is going to want to be centered. So we are going to go up here to align, and we're going to hit center align. You can have a creative name if you would like, or you can just call it the Telltale Heart essay. It is going to be the same size. It is going to be the same font type. You are going to get marked down if it is not Times New Roman, if it is not 12-point font, if it is not double spaced, if the title is not centered. You are going to get points, individual points for all of those things. So make sure that you are following. Watch this part of the video a few times if you need to see, or pause it so that you can see exactly what your essay needs to look like. Okay, so next we need to include our page number. So let me show you an example of what a completed first page of an argumentative essay in MLA format looks like. So we have our double spacing, we have our title. Now we are going to add our page number, which also includes our last name. So we are going to go back to our final draft. There are a couple different ways that you can access the header. You can go up to the top of the page where you see my cursor and double click, and that will make this header pop up. Click anywhere else on the page to make it disappear. You can also go to insert and scroll down to headers and footers and click header. Oh, just kidding. I have an easier way. We're going to do it. We're actually going to go to page numbers because we are going to add a page number. So go to insert and scroll down to page numbers. So skip the headers and footers. We are going to make it easier so that we can just do this once. By clicking on page numbers, it auto does it for you. So it'll automatically mark the pages as you continue. So click this one up here where you see the little 1 in the top right corner. Actually, either one of these. Actually, click this one, the first one on the left that has a 1 and a 2 in the top right corner. That should make a 1 pop up on your page. The cursor is going to be behind the 1. Click it so that it's in front of the 1, and then type your last name. So don't type my last name, type your last name. And then you can click anywhere else on the page to make that header box or the page number box disappear. I apologize for the obnoxious dog in the background behind me, if you can hear that. But it should have your last name and a page number up here. Now, if you scroll, like if you're typing and it takes you 2 pages, I'm not quite sure how many. You might end up on the second page. You might use a little bit of the second page. If you do, you'll notice that it automatically generates a page 2 for you. So you don't have to do this. It just continues and marks each page automatically for you. So make sure you click page number so you don't have to do that yourself each time. Otherwise, you have to manually input the 1 and the 2 on each page. And we did that by going to insert and down here, page numbers. And this one up here with the 1 and the 2. That will give you the option to put that there. And then we have one final thing that we need to be sure we do, and that is put our name and all of that good information, identifying information, up here in the top left. Normally, we put our name in the top right if we're writing something, like if we're writing an assignment at school and we turn it in. Usually our name goes in the top right. That's normally the place we see a name spot. But for MLA formatting, we put it in the top left. And we also include your teacher's name. So you will put your name at the top. Then you will list my name. Then you will list our class, which we'll list as English 8. And then you're going to type out the date, whether that's the date you're typing it or the due date. I do not care. It doesn't matter to me. Just make sure you include one of the dates that you spent working on this assignment. I don't mind which day specifically. So we are going to hit enter. I am going to align to the left or ensure that it is left aligned. And then I'll type and we'll make this say dough as well. So pretending that this is John Doe's paper. So we need your name, then we need my name, your teacher's name. Then we need English 8 or 8th grade English, however you want to write it. And then click it down one more time and put today's date. Notice how it is written, not written like your normal date. You're going to put the day of the month, and then the year. So let's see, today is the 30th of November, 2020. So that is what it should look like. It is double spaced. You are going to have a lot of space up here. It does look and feel a little weird at first. This does stay double spaced though. This should be double spaced, so leave that much space between it. I know it feels like a lot of empty space up here, but that is how it is supposed to look. So this is what the beginning of your essay should look like. If at any point you missed getting all of this information, here's your chance to pause this video and copy this down if your intro doesn't look like this, and if you missed any of this information. Make sure you continue though. You should have a 4-paragraph essay by the end of this final draft. Please make sure you read through it before you submit it, especially if you are copying and pasting it from your rough draft into your final draft. Because when you do that, you don't proofread. In class, we would have written down our rough draft, and then we would have typed it into our final draft. So as we made that transition and we read and then typed what we were reading, we would catch all of our mistakes. But that's not going to happen this year because everything we did was typed. And I know a ton of us are going to be copying and pasting and then just hitting submit so that we could be done with it. You are going to be marked down if you have grammatical errors, if you have spelling errors. So make sure you proofread it. Make sure you spell check it. Because if you are copying and pasting, you're not going to be reading it as you write it. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to miss things that you wouldn't have missed if you were copying it down word for word rather than copying and pasting. So keep that in mind. Make sure you double check it, proofread it, hit the spell check button. It's a fancy little friend up here in tools. Spelling and grammar. Spelling and grammar, check that whole thing, please. Spelling and grammar, check it. It does it for you. It doesn't do 100% of an accurate job though, so I do want you yourself to read it and give somebody else in your household some homework tonight or at some point this week. Have them read it for you so that they can check for the grammatical errors, the spelling errors. Something might sound weird to them that didn't sound weird to you. So let them proofread it as well, and you'll catch a lot more mistakes. And I promise you, your grade will be a lot better if you catch those mistakes. Because this assignment is not full credit for turning it in. I'm going to nitpick this one. You got credit for turning in the rough draft. That was your safe place to make mistakes. I graded those mistakes and gave you full credit anyways for submitting it and for making those mistakes. So this is your chance to fix those mistakes and have a nearly perfect paper. You shouldn't have spelling errors in here. You shouldn't have any grammatical errors. I want you to get all of that stuff sorted out between the transmission of your rough draft into your final draft. So make sure whether you watch this video a couple of times, pause it in certain places so that you can see what you need to, what yours needs to look like. Make sure that you check all of your boxes and you have what you need. So once you have your 4 paragraphs here, everything has been proofread. You feel good and comfortable with turning it in. I want you to look back at the final draft assignment again, because I do have 2 rubrics here for you that I want you to look over at some point before you submit. This one has a bit more writing, a bit more information that might help you out a little bit more if you're unclear of what your paragraphs need to look like. A 4 is an A plus. A 1 would be like a D, no bueno, needs some work. And I also have the checklist version that I want you to definitely take a look at, whether you actually fill it out and download it. Right now it's a view only file. I do believe you can hit these dots, open it in a new window and save it though. But use this as a checklist. Go down and make sure that your essay has all of these things before you hit the submit button, because you are going to get graded or marked down for not having each of these things. And it's quite a few things. So your intro should have 3 or more sentences. It should have your thesis. If you copied down mine, then all of this should be yes, no problem. You could just kind of bypass that one right away and go check off your body paragraphs. We did not do 3 body paragraphs, so you do not need to worry about this number 3 here, because we are just going to kind of scratch that out because we only focused on 2 body paragraphs. And then down here we have our conclusion, 3 or more sentences. Does it give a full finished feeling to the essay? And then your grammar and mechanics, the things that you will be ironing out by proofreading it or having somebody else in your household proofread it. So does it have proper MLA formatting? Do you have your name and everything up here as it should be? Do you have the title up here and centered? Do you have your last name and the page number up here? Is it double spaced, and is it double spaced properly? Those are all things that will go under grammar and mechanics. Proper capitalization. Make sure the telltale heart, anytime you use the title of the story in your essay, that it is all capitalized. If you or when you use Edgar Allan Poe's name in your thesis statement, make sure that Edgar, Allan, and Poe are all capitalized, the first letter of each of those names, because they are proper nouns and they should be capitalized. So make sure you are capitalizing properly, because spell check won't get that for you. As well as punctuation, spell check will not always get that for you either. So make sure that you are editing any punctuation that I made notes to on your rough draft. A variety of sentence structures. That is not being too repetitive. I gave you guys a lot of different sentence starters to help you with your commentary, your concrete details, to kind of get you started. Your concluding sentences so that we didn't use in conclusion, in conclusion, in conclusion at the end of every single paragraph. So do you have some variety of transition phrases, sentence starters, things like that throughout your essay? And then your appropriate use of CMs, concrete details. Do you have all of those things and your transitions in the proper places? Did you use them correctly? Um, and then you're also going to get points if you turned in your rough draft. So I am going to give you credit for turning in your rough draft because there are going to be a few of you who turn in a final draft without turning in a rough draft. And you're probably going to see a drop in your grade because I didn't get a chance to give you feedback first. Notice that the colors are also listed up here. I am going to dock points, take points off if you do not have your font colors or your font the proper color. So your topic sentences should be blue, your concrete details should be red, your commentary should be green, and your concluding sentences should be black. So make sure you change those things as well before you submit it. So your paragraphs should look like this with a black concluding sentence and a little bit more commentary per paragraph. But that is pretty much it for your MLA formatting, what your essay should look like, minus a few paragraphs. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me via email so that I can help get that or those questions answered before it is due on Sunday night, December 6th.